Today I'm going to show you my Pine Hutch mid-century style makeover. It was an old brown orange, disgusting, probably not disgusting, but it was a very old and orange hutch that was pretty past its style date, I do believe, and I thought I would give it a makeover, and honestly what it got transformed into was something pretty amazing, if I don't say so myself. I'm going to go through and let you know how I went with transforming it into something that was pretty old and daggy into something pretty amazing. Hi YouTube friends, so today I'm showing you my latest acquisition. It's Pine Hutch. That is humongous, and I picked it up for a steal for $80 from a local buy swap and sell site. The lady was actually moving, so she was trying to get rid of all of her furniture at a really good price, and I picked it up and I am now deciding what to do with it. So I've done a bit of research on Pinterest. I've got an idea of how I want it to look. So I thought I'd show you the process that I'm going through in transforming it from something that's drab and dull to an amazing piece of furniture that would look stunning in anybody's home. So this is it's all in its orange glory. Doesn't it look fabulous? So what I'm going to do here is I'll be taking, the first step is to take all the doors and knobs off everything. What I will do up here is tape the glass so that I won't be painting over that. The knobs will be removed, these doors will be removed, and what I'm thinking of doing is painting the interior a white colour, which would include the shelving. Like the back will be white, and then the rest of the cupboard is going to be a dark grey, a blue grey colour. Putting new knobs on everything. I haven't quite decided what the knob will look like yet, but a little bit of research will help me do that. What I'm going to do on this top here will be sanding it completely back to the wood, and then I'll use a nice dark stain on it so that it will bring out a different colour other than the orange, and then it will get a nice top coat of a clear coat to protect it. So that will just give it a point of difference, I think, and that will look really good. This isn't going to be a modern piece. The style of it wouldn't really look good being modern because of the colonial curves of it and the edging up here. Just the piece speaks to me, as you know, furniture does. Just for me to look at it, I think it will be best to go down a traditional route, and that's what I will be doing with the colour palette as well as the furniture knobs and the interior here as well. So that's what it looks like, that's the plan. So I'm going to get to taking the knobs and the doors off. I've taken off the hinges and the screws. What I will do is I will get them freezer bags, and I will put each set of hinges and the screws that go with them into the bag, tie it off and put it in a safe place. I will mark it that it is this door, that is the right hand door, and then I'll mark that it's the middle door and then the left hand door. Just like, it probably wouldn't matter, but I just like to keep the hinges with the door that it's on, because sometimes some pieces, if they're particularly old, it seems to fit better where they were originally from. So that's what I'm going to do with these. Here is all my hinges that I've taken off the cabinets, and I've marked what door they've come off. So everything is marked, and I will know which door to put it back onto. So just, it's all about doing these little steps to keep things organized, and it will save you a major headache in the long run. Found that the glass in these upper cabinet doors, I just held on with these little pieces of plastic around the entire piece of glass. So I'm going to just remove them and then remove the glass so I don't have to mask it up when I'm painting it. So that'll make my job so much more easier, and it will be a faster process in the long run. So I'm really happy about that. I've now removed all of the doors down on the lower section. I've removed all the hardware. I've removed the upper cabinet doors as well as the glass from those doors, and all of the hinges off everything. So that's all done. Now the next step I'm going to do is to sand top here. I'm going to sand it all the way back to the wood in preparation for staining. While you could sand this entire thing by hand, I'm going to do it the easy way. I've got my orbital sander here, and I've got 80 grit sandpaper on it, and I will just do a run over the entire thing and get the top coat off it, and then I'll reduce down to 120 grit, which is a smoother sandpaper, just to smooth the top back, as this is quite, the 80 is quite coarse and we don't want to leave it at that coarseness. Just finished sanding the hutch. You probably can see a bit of sanding dust in my hair. I thought I would just show you where I'm up to with it. I finished sanding the bench top of the cabinet completely back to the bare wood, and then I've given the entire thing a complete sand, just lightly, in preparation for painting. I'm going to probably undercoat that soon, but I think I'll go straight to the bench top and give that a stain first, and then I will tape and paper that up before I go ahead and paint it. But let's have a look where I'm up to and I can explain what I've done. So I was using the orbital sander first, but I've went down to using a little detailed hand, still electric, but it's a detailed sander. This one has a pointy end to it, and I found it to be able to get into the corners a little bit better. Plus I found the orbital wasn't fitting under this little shelf here. So this one does quite easily. I started off with 60 grit, then I went up to 80, and then I finished it off with 120 to give it a smooth finish. I may even get the 240 out and give it another sand just to get it ultra smooth in preparation for staining it. I will do that soon. The next step though is to give it a complete wipe over, because there's just sanding dust over the entire thing. I'll probably get a dustpan and brush and a wet rag and give it a complete clean. I also have given the entire cabinet a light sanding with 80 grit sandpaper on the back here, along the front, all the doors and the drawers down here. By doing that, it's just preparing it for the undercoat, and by doing that it'll help the undercoat to stick to it and not chip off, not scratch off. So that's very important, is the preparation of any piece of furniture by sanding it is probably the first rule of thumb in doing any furniture makeover. I'm about to give the hutch there's my dog. Hello, Abby. I'm about to give the hutch a spray with my sprayer. I'm just going to undercoat it. I've covered up the area that I've sanded back. I was going to stain that first, but I decided against it because I wasn't quite sure how the tape would go being removed after it had been stained, so I'd prefer not to have to re-stain it again. So I've just covered this all up with newspaper and lined it with masking tape so it won't get paint on it. And now I'm going to put some undercoat. I will do the drawers and the doors as well, and the entire cabinet. I've just finished undercoating the hutch and she's looking good. She looks 10 times better just with a coat of undercoat on it, don't you think? I use my fine spray paint sprayer. Best thing ever. You really need to invest in one if you are doing a lot of furniture up. I need to tell you also, the undercoat that I'm using on this is a stain blocker undercoat, so it will block any stain underneath. So the orangey stain from the pine, it won't seep through to your top coat, and that's very important. So you need to make sure, if you're doing anything with wood that has a previous stain on it, I would recommend using a stain blocker undercoat. Just completed 2 coats of the Sheffield grey colour, and I've done all of the door fronts, the drawers and the hutch itself, and now I'm just starting to tape up and cover the hutch in newspaper and masking tape, because I'm going to spray the inners of the cabinets white, and I don't want the overspray to go onto what I've already painted. So this is going to probably take me a little bit, but I'll cover everything up around the top here and the bottom. I won't need to do the drawers because the drawers are going to slide into there. So once I've done that, I will then go ahead and spray the inside. I've just finished taping up the entire hutch now with newspaper and masking tape, and I'm about to put undercoat in the inner, down the bottom and up the top. I will just have to move all of the doors and things so they don't get any overspray, but I'm ready to do this because it means we're nearly done. Taking the newspaper off this to reveal what this beauty looks like, and she's looking pretty good so far. I've just finished painting the inside of the cabinets here, and I said I was doing vivid white, but I've actually changed my mind with that, and I did a combination of Casper White and vivid white just so it wasn't too stark against the grey, and I really liked how it turned out. So now I'm up to staining this bench top here. So I've just taped off around the edges, underneath here, and around the top. So that will protect the paint against any splatters of stain. So now I'll go ahead and stain the top. Stain the top, what I'm using is Interior Stain by Cabot. It is Brazilian Roast, and this is my favourite stain. I use it on a lot of my pieces that need anything stained on it. So with this one, it's water-based. You don't need any terps or anything to clean it up. I really like application. It's a creamy kind of paint, the tinted base here. So now just with a paintbrush, and you'll need a lint-free cloth to wipe it off with. That's really important because you don't want anything leaving like any little fluffy particles on it. So this has been sanded smooth and wiped over, free of any dust or anything like that. And now I'll go ahead and just paint on the stain. And when you're doing that, you need to make sure you paint your stain with the grain of the wood. If you're going like this way, it just doesn't give it a good finish. It's always important, whenever staining a piece of furniture, go with the grain of the wood. And I make sure I apply the stain quite thickly. Type of stain doesn't require a conditioner or anything like that first to stop it soaking in too much. I find it's a pretty even stain, and you can leave it on for like 5 minutes and it doesn't soak in like a whole heap. So I usually apply 2 coats of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and stain the rest, and then I'll update you with where I'm at. Finished applying the stain, and I'm going to leave it on for probably 2 to 3 minutes. I'll just check on how it's drying. I don't want it to dry. That's what you don't want it to do. So if it's starting to dry quickly, I'll take it off, and we'll see how it looks after the first application. I generally do about 2, sometimes 3, depending on how the wood soaks it in. So I will go and start removing that. Finished wiping off the stain. I've just used an old tea towel. This one doesn't have any fluff on it. And when I've removed it, it's very important when you're removing the stain that you wipe the same way the grain is running, just as you apply it. And this will allow the stain to off. If you're kind of just doing this, it will show up in the stain once it dries. So just wiping the grain of the wood. Once you've gotten like most of it off, there might be just a little bit on there still. Yeah, just make sure there's no globs of anything. You just let it dry. Then apply another coat, probably in about 24 hours. So that's what I'm going to do. Being the great vlogger that I am, I completely forgot to take final video of how I put this piece back together. So I thought I would sit down and just have a little chat with you about the final processes that I went through, and letting you know any products that I used on the entire piece. The first step after I had completely finished painting the piece was to let it dry completely. You need to let it dry for at least 24 hours before you put anything back together, so that you're not going to knock any soft paint. So once that was dry, I added all the door fronts on the upper and lower cabinets and the drawers back in, and then I added the fixtures and fittings, so adding all the hinges back on and new doorknobs on the drawers and the cupboard fronts. I used a brushed brass style knob in a Hampton style, I believe it was called. I will leave all the product details below on the paint colors and any products that I used on this piece if you want to replicate it. So once all the fixtures and fittings were put together, I just had to put a final finish on the bench top. So what I used was Fids & Sons Rugger Brown Furniture Wax, and I just wiped that over the top of the cabinet top there, and You leave it for about 5 minutes, and once it's slightly dry, you buff it off with a soft cloth and it leaves a lovely shine. This is what my normal go-to finish for any stained top is, but if you like polyurethane or a water-based clear coat, go with that. Just go with what you know and are comfortable in using. So once the final piece was finished, I popped it into my house. And this was going to be kept. I was originally going to keep it in our dining room space, but I ended up finding that it was too large and the color palette just didn't suit the area that I had chosen for it. So I ended up selling it, and honestly, if I had 10 of them, I could have sold them over and over and over. So if you want to do a piece of furniture up, totally recommend this color scheme because it was a winner for sure. It also got featured in the Australian Handyman magazine, which is located in the Bunnings hardware store, and it was in the July edition this year. So it was a popular project and even the magazine editors loved it. So there you go, that's how I completed this Pine Hutch makeover. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Until next time guys, I will see you, and I hope you have fun creating your own pieces of furniture. Bye!